My family used me as an ATM for a year to support my lazy 27-year-old brother, but when they planned to scam me out of $3,000 with fake trip tickets, I recorded their confession, bought the tickets only for myself, and exposed them to the entire family with evidence. I'm 25 years old. I work in tech for a pretty decent company, and what I'm about to tell you is probably the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. But honestly, I think it was more than justified. The thing is that for almost a year, my parents basically used me as an ATM to support my older brother who does absolutely nothing with his life, and when I finally realized what was happening and left, they thought they could manipulate me one more time with a supposed family reunion. Spoiler alert, it didn't work, and what I did after probably sounds like something out of a revenge movie, but I swear everything happened exactly as I'm about to tell you. I guess I should start at the beginning. I mean, how I ended up back at my parents' house being a fully functional adult with a stable job. Look, I had moved out of the house when I was like 22, fresh out of college, and I was living in a small but decent apartment, paying my bills, living my life, doing what you're supposed to do when you become an adult. It wasn't anything special, but it was mine, you know what I mean? And honestly, I liked that independence. Like I could eat pizza at 3 in the morning if I wanted and nobody would say anything. But then my parents started this campaign, let's say, very subtle at first, but increasingly insistent, that I should come back home. It started with casual comments like, "Oh, Ethan, you should save more money. Rent is so expensive. It doesn't make sense for you to spend so much when you have your room here waiting for you." And I told them I was fine, that my salary was enough for me. But they kept going and going. My mom especially, every time I called her or went to visit them, it was the same thing. About the money, about family, about this, about that. And look, I love my parents, or at least I loved them back then without questioning it much. So when we had this dinner like a year and a half ago, where they basically sat me down and gave me a mental PowerPoint presentation about why I should move back, like with financial arguments and everything, I thought, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm being foolish. Spending all that money on rent when I could be saving. My dad told me, "Look, son, you could easily save half your salary if you come back. You just pay a symbolic rent to help with the house expenses, and that's it. In 2 years, you could have the down payment for your own place." It sounded reasonable, right? I mean, in retrospect, I should have seen it coming, because my brother Ryan, who's 27 years old, 2 years older than me, was still living there, no job, not doing anything productive with his life, but, well, I was naive or stupid or both. I thought, okay, it's my family. They want to help me. It makes financial sense. What could go wrong? Everything, basically. Everything could and everything did go wrong. I moved back like in mid-2023. I think it was June or July. I don't remember exactly. I went back to my childhood room, which they hadn't even touched much. It still had my old video game posters on the walls and everything. At first, we agreed that I would pay like $400 a month in rent, plus contribute to groceries, which seemed fair to me. Like, it was literally a quarter of what I was paying at my apartment, so I thought, perfect. I'm going to save a ton of money. The first week, everything was fine. Relatively normal. I'd get home from work, have dinner with the family, go to my room. Ryan was there as always, on the couch playing video games or watching Netflix. But well, it wasn't my problem, right? Or so I thought. My mom would cook, I'd help clean, things worked. But like after a month, I started noticing weird things. First, it was that my mom asked me if I could give a little more for groceries because, according to her, with one more person in the house, the expenses had gone up a lot. I gave her another $200 without thinking much about it. Then it was that they needed help with cable and internet because the rates had gone up. Another $100, then water, then electricity, and basically every 2 weeks there was a new thing they needed my financial help for. And I, like an idiot, kept giving money because I thought, well, I live here. It's fair that I contribute more, right? But what really started to bother me was Ryan. This guy, my older brother who's supposed to have his life figured out, suddenly started having new things. Like 2 months after I arrived, he showed up with a PlayStation 5, I asked him, "Hey, where did you get that?" and he told me Mom had given it to him for his birthday. His birthday had been literally 6 months earlier, but well, I let it go. Then it was new sneakers, expensive ones, like some Nikes that easily cost $200. Then a new phone, the latest iPhone. Then designer clothes. And I was there thinking, wait a minute. This guy doesn't work. Where is all this money coming from? But every time I asked, my parents had a different excuse. That they had saved, that it was from a bonus from my dad's work, that they had bought it on sale, always something. What finally opened my eyes was like 4 months into being there. I got home from work on a Friday, exhausted because it had been a horrible week, and the house was a complete mess. Like there were dirty dishes everywhere, clothes thrown around, trash not taken out. I mean, total chaos. And Ryan was on the couch, as always, playing his video games, doing nothing. I told him, "Hey Ryan, could you at least clean up a little?" And he looked at me like I had asked him to climb Mount Everest and told me, "It's not my problem. Mom does it when she gets home." Mom works, by the way. She and my dad have normal jobs. It's not like they're home all day. So I told him, "Bro, you're 27 years old and you're home all day doing nothing. The least you could do is keep this clean." And that's when it got weird, and he yelled at me to mind my own business, that I was nobody to tell him what to do. We started arguing really badly, like yelling at each other. And when my parents got home, guess who they defended? Exactly, Ryan. My mom told me I was being too hard on my brother, that he was going through a difficult time, that he was looking for work, but the market was very complicated. I told her, "Mom, he's been years without working. This isn't new." And she got upset with me, told me I was being cruel and unsympathetic to my brother. And it was right there, at that exact moment, that something clicked in my head and I thought, wait, what's really happening here? That night I started doing the math. I pulled out all my bank statements from the last few months and started adding up everything I had given my parents since I moved in. Between rent, groceries, supposed emergencies, utilities, everything. I had given like $4,500. In 4 months, $4,500. That was more than I spent living alone in my apartment, much more. And suddenly everything made sense. All those expensive gifts for Ryan, all those excuses, everything. They were using my money to support Ryan. I was literally the family ATM so my brother could live his parasite life without having to do anything. I felt, I don't know, betrayed is not enough. I felt like a complete idiot for not seeing it before. And the worst part is that when I confronted them the next morning, they didn't even completely deny it. I showed them the accounts. I told them, "Look, I've given almost $5,000 in 4 months. This is ridiculous. What's going on?" And my mom got all defensive, saying it wasn't that much, that I was exaggerating, that family helps each other. I told her, "This isn't help. This is exploitation. And why is all my money going to things for Ryan?" And that's when my dad intervened with this super weak argument that Ryan needed emotional support and that those things made him happy while he found his way. I told him, "His way? Dad, he's 27 years old. He does nothing all day. He doesn't even clean the house. And I'm financing his lifestyle while working 50 hours a week. I thought you wanted me here so that I could save money, not so you could spend it on Ryan." And my mom had the nerve to tell me I was being selfish, that family is more important than money, and all that manipulative speech that makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries. Right then and there, I told them I was leaving. Not that night because it was already late, but I told them, "I'm leaving this weekend. Get your things together because I'm not going to continue with this anymore." And it was incredible, like literally incredible, how they changed their attitude when they realized I was serious. Suddenly, my mom was crying, saying, "Don't leave, that we could fix it, that there had been a misunderstanding." My dad was telling me I was being impulsive, that I should think about it, carefully. But I was already decided, and what hurt me the most was realizing that they weren't worried about losing me. They were worried about losing my money. I called my friend Chris, explained the situation to him, and that guy is a hero because he told me that no problem I could stay at his apartment while I found something. On Saturday, I packed my things. I didn't have much anyway because most of my stuff I had left when I originally moved. And I left. Ryan didn't even come out of his room. My parents tried to stop me at the door with more tears and promises that things would change, but I was already fed up, you know? Like completely burned out with the whole situation. I lived with Chris for like 2 months. It was weird having a roommate again after living alone, but he was super cool about everything. I was aggressively saving every penny I could, and like in October, I got my own apartment. Nothing luxurious, but it was mine again, and that feeling of freedom was incredible. I blocked my parents on WhatsApp, didn't answer their calls, basically cut contact because I had nothing to say to them, and every time I talked to them, I ended up angry. And this is where the story gets good, or bad, depending on how you look at it. Because it turns out my parents weren't going to let me go that easily, but not for the reasons you'd expect. Like 4 or 5 months went by without talking to them. I was living my life, working, hanging out with friends, at peace. And then like in March of this year, my mom calls me from someone else's phone because I had hers blocked, and when I answered thinking it was an emergency, she starts with this super emotional speech about how I've been the topic of all their conversations, that they miss me so much, that family is the most important thing, that they've reflected a lot about everything that happened. I was going to hang up, but then she tells me, "Look, Ethan, I know we made mistakes. Your dad and I want to make it up to you. We want to reconnect with you for real. And we thought we could take a family trip, the 4 of us, to some nice place, away from everything, to talk and fix things as a family." And I was super skeptical, obviously, because really, after everything that happened? But she kept insisting, saying they had been saving specifically for this, that they wanted to show me that they really cared. She proposed the Bahamas. She said she had found an incredible resort, all-inclusive, that it would be a full week in April, that they would pay for everything, that I just had to say yes. And honestly, part of me, the stupid part that still wanted to believe my family could change, thought, well, maybe they're being sincere. Maybe they really want to fix things. I told her I'd think about it, and she sent me all the information about the resort. Photos, itinerary, everything well organized. But something didn't add up, you know, that feeling in your stomach that something's wrong. So I did something. I probably shouldn't have done, but that turned out to be the best thing I could have done. I played along. I told them, okay, that it seemed like a good idea, that yes, I wanted to go, and my mom was super excited, saying she would make the reservations and everything. She told me that since I worked in tech and was good with those things, if I could make the flight reservation for everyone and they would reimburse me, that's when it completely hit me. They were asking me to pay for the flights with the promise that they would give me the money back. 4 tickets to the Bahamas aren't cheap. We're talking easily $2,000, $500, or $3,000 depending on the dates. And I thought, it can't be. They can't be that obvious. But I wanted to be sure before doing anything. 2 weeks later, I went to visit them. I told them I wanted to talk about the trip in person. I arrived on a Sunday afternoon and they were all there. Mom, Dad, Ryan. We were talking about the trip, looking at photos of the resort, making plans, and everything seemed super normal and positive. But then I said I needed to go to the bathroom, and when I went upstairs, I left my phone recording audio in my jacket that I left on the back of the chair in the living room. Yes, I know, it sounds super paranoid and extreme, but my instinct was telling me something wasn't right. When I came back from the bathroom like 10 minutes later, we resumed the conversation for a while, and then I left. In the car, on the way to my apartment, I listened to the recording. And honestly, I almost drove off the road when I heard what they were saying. As soon as I went upstairs, Ryan asked Mom, "Do you really think the idiot is going to pay for the flights?" And my mom answered him, "Oh, Ryan, don't call your brother that. But yes, he's going to pay, and we're obviously not giving him anything back. He owes it to us anyway after how he's treated us." My dad said something like, "And besides, the resort isn't even booked yet. First let him pay for the flights, and then we'll see if we really want to go or better use that money for something else." And all 3 of them were laughing, about how easy it was going to be to manipulate me again. Ryan said, "He's so predictable. You just tell him family is important and he falls like an idiot." And my mom answered him, "Well, that's how we raised him. He's always been the noble one in the family." I listened to that recording like 5 times. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't that they were confused or that there was a misunderstanding. They were literally planning to scam me, and worse yet, they didn't even have the decency to feel bad about it. They were proud of how well they knew me and how easy it was to manipulate me. And that's when I decided, no more. I had already been the family idiot enough times. I had let them use me. I had put their needs before mine again and again. And for what? So they could laugh at me behind my back and plan how to get more money out of me. So I thought, okay, if they want to play this game, let's play it, but this time I'm going to win. I sent them a message telling them I was super excited about the trip, that I had already found perfect flights for everyone, leaving on April 15th and returning on the 22nd. I even sent them screenshots of the flights, the itinerary. Everything looked super legit. They were happy. My mom was sending me messages saying she was so happy we were reconnecting, that this trip was going to be the start of a new chapter for our family. What they didn't know is that I did buy tickets, but only for myself. I booked a full week at that resort in the Bahamas, all-inclusive, room with ocean view, the whole works. I spent like $3,000 in total between the flight and the hotel, but honestly it was worth every penny for what was about to happen. For them, I made fake tickets. It wasn't hard. There are templates online, and since I work in tech, it all looked super professional and legit. The difference is that their tickets had the departure time changed. My real flights left at 6 inches the morning, but the tickets I gave them said we were leaving at 2 inches the afternoon on the same day. 6 hours difference. On the day of the trip, I got up at 3:30 inches the morning, got to the airport super early, checked my luggage, went through security, and went to the Bahamas. I turned off my phone as soon as I boarded the plane because I knew what was coming. I landed like at 11 inches the morning Bahamas time, got to the resort, checked in, and went straight to the beach with a mojito in my hand. Like at 3 inches the afternoon, I turned on my phone to see what had happened. And dude, I had like 50 missed calls and probably 100 messages. The panic in the messages was incredible. At first, my mom was writing me things like, "Ethan, where are you? We already got to the airport. We're looking for you." Then they moved on to, "The tickets don't work. They say there's no reservation under our names. What's going on?" Then it was total panic. "Ethan, answer the phone. This isn't funny. What did you do?" My dad left me like 10 voice messages yelling, calling me everything, saying how dare I do this, that I was a horrible person, that family never does these things. Ryan sent me messages telling me I was a loser, that I had always been the problem child, basically trying to make me feel bad. But honestly, reading all that from a paradise beach with the sound of the waves in the background, I didn't feel bad at all. I felt free. I sent them a single response message. "Enjoy the airport. I'm enjoying the Bahamas. Alone. Cheers." And I turned off the phone again. I spent the best week of my life at that resort. I went snorkeling, took salsa classes, ate until I burst at the hotel restaurants, slept late every day, read like 3 books. It was exactly what I needed. Like pure therapy, but with beach and alcohol included. Airport with their fake tickets, I laughed. I'm not going to lie. I know it sounds cruel, but after everything they did to me, I felt it was justice. I came back home on April 22nd, and honestly I thought things were going to calm down. That after a week they would have gotten over their anger and everyone would just move on with their lives. But no, oh no, this was just getting started. 2 days after I got back, on April 24th in the afternoon, they knocked on my door like it was the police. I opened, and there were all 3 of them. Mom, Dad, and Ryan, and they looked furious, like the angriest faces I had ever seen them have. They didn't even let me speak. They entered my apartment like it was theirs and started yelling at me all at the same time. How dare I? That I had made them look ridiculous, that they had had to explain to everyone in the family why they hadn't gone on the trip, that I was a terrible person, that they never thought I was capable of something like that. My mom. I was crying. My dad was red with rage. Ryan pushed me and told me I was a son of a bitch, and I was just standing there thinking, really? Are you really doing this? I let them vent for like 5 minutes, and when they finally shut up, I told them, okay, now it's my turn. I took out my phone, opened the audio recording from that afternoon at their house, and turned up the volume. The expression on their faces when they heard their own voices planning how to scam me was incredible. They went pale, literally, like they had seen a ghost. When the recording ended, I told them, "So, I'm the terrible one, right? I'm the one who treats family badly. Not you who used me as an ATM for months. Not you who planned to scam me again. I'm the problem." I told them to get out of my apartment and never come back. That I didn't want to know anything more about them. That to me, they were no longer family. My mom tried to say something about the recording being taken out of context, that it wasn't what it seemed, but I wasn't listening anymore. I literally threw them out of my apartment and closed the door. I heard them outside still yelling for like 10 more minutes before they finally left. I thought that was the end of it, but no. Turns out my parents decided that if they looked bad, I should look bad too. So they started calling all the extended family, uncles, cousins, grandparents, telling them their version of the story. According to them, I was a cruel son who had abandoned his family, who refused to help them financially, even though they had given me everything, and who had planned this horrible revenge to make them look bad publicly. I started getting calls and messages from uncles I hadn't seen in years, telling me they were disappointed. How could I do that to my parents? That family is sacred. My grandmother, who's like 80 years old, called me crying, telling me it broke her heart to know I had become such a cold and cruel person. And all this without knowing the full story, only with the manipulated version my parents had told them. And that's when I decided enough with secrets and half-truths. If they were going to tell their version, I was going to tell the complete truth. On May 2nd, I made a post on Facebook, super long, explaining everything from the beginning. How they had convinced me to move back with false promises, how they had been taking money from me month after month to finance Ryan's lifestyle, how I had discovered the plan to scam me with the trip, everything. And the best part is that I included the audio recording. I uploaded it complete, unedited, so anyone could hear exactly what my parents and Ryan had said. I tagged all the family members who had been bothering me, not aggressively, just so they'd know there was another version of the story. The reaction was immediate and massive. Within hours, that post had like 200 comments and had been shared like 50 times. People were outraged, but not at me, at my parents. Uncles, who had called, for me to scold me, were now sending me messages of support saying they had no idea, that they were so sorry, that I had done the right thing. Cousins were commenting on the post saying they had always thought something weird was going on with Ryan, but never imagined it was like this. My grandmother, God bless her, called me again, but this time to apologize. She told me she had listened to the recording and was horrified, that she never thought her daughter, my mom, could be capable of something like that. She told me that she and my grandfather supported me completely and that I had done well to expose the truth. But obviously my parents didn't take it well that the truth came out. On May 4th, 2 days after the post, they showed up again at my apartment, but this time they weren't angry, they were desperate. My mom was really crying this time. Not manipulation tears, panic tears. She begged me to delete the post, that I was destroying them, that the whole family was judging them, that the neighbors already knew, that my dad's work had found out. My dad, who's normally so proud, was standing there with his head down telling me to please have mercy, that he understood I was angry but this was already too much, that I was ruining their lives. And Ryan, for the first time in his life probably, didn't say anything. He was just standing there looking miserable. I told them no, that the post was staying, that if their lives were ruined it was because they had ruined them with their actions, not me with my words. I told them they had months to treat me well, to be honest with me, to be a real family, and they chose manipulation and abuse again and again. That this was simply the consequences of their own decisions. My mom asked me what they could do to fix it, and I told her nothing. That there was nothing left to fix. That to me they stopped being my family the day they decided I was only useful for my money. All three of them left crying. And honestly, I didn't feel anything, neither satisfaction nor guilt. Just like an emptiness or maybe relief. I don't know how to describe it. On May 6th, I made one last post on Facebook. Shorter this time, saying that after a lot of reflection I had decided to cut contact completely with my parents and my brother, that I hoped everyone would respect my decision and not pressure me to reconcile, because it wasn't going to happen. That I needed to move forward with my life, surrounded by people who truly valued and respected me, and that I was grateful to everyone who had supported me during this process. I blocked them on all social media, changed my phone number, even told my work that if any of them showed up looking for me to call security. Basically, I built a complete wall between them and me. It's been like 6 months since all that, and I don't regret anything. Was what I did with the tickets extreme? Yes, totally. Was it necessary to expose everything publicly? Probably not. Do I care? Honestly, no. I spent too much time in my life letting them walk all over me, letting them make me feel guilty for setting boundaries, letting my need to have family turn me into their victim. Now I live my life in peace. I have incredible friends who are more family to me than my own parents. My career is going well. I have my own space where nobody uses or manipulates me. Sometimes I wonder how they're doing. If Ryan finally got a job, if my parents understood anything from all this. But they're thoughts that pass quickly, and I don't get stuck on them. Last week, my grandmother invited me to lunch, just the two of us, and she asked me if I would ever forgive my parents. I told her I didn't know. That maybe someday, when they've demonstrated real change for years, not months, but that for now I needed to protect my mental peace and emotional stability. She told me she understood, and that she was proud of me for setting boundaries, that she could never do that with her own family, and that she admired my strength. And I guess that's enough for now. I don't have a perfect movie ending where we all learn a lesson and reconcile, but I have something better. I have my freedom and my dignity back, and after everything that happened, that's worth more than any dysfunctional family relationship.